it is super, super easy to sell to someone that already trusts you. So it's so important to have upsells and additional services, like you called it in your program, a hybrid agency, to capitalize on that. Otherwise, you're really missing out.
All right, we're here with Jeremy. How's it going?
Good, thanks, Jaime.
Brand new student interview. Very excited for this one because we're going to be diving into his journey. He's going to essentially talk about how he went from mainly freelancing or a complete different type of service to now running his e-com agency. We're also going to be talking a little bit about upsells, cross-sells, and how you can use that, utilize that for your agency. Also, his personal life, which is certainly very interesting. And yeah, I'm excited to get right into it, man.
Yeah, it's great to be on the call with you. Yeah, let's get started.
Awesome, brother. I think the first place to start, especially for those of you, for those people watching, is let's talk a little bit about where your agency is currently at. I mean, I'm not sure if you're comfortable with like sharing numbers, sharing number of clients, or at least where you've taken, also where you've taken your agency, kind of like the maximums that you've taken your agency over the past few months.
Yeah, for sure. So right now, just to cut to the chase. So the agency, we're currently doing 5 figures in revenue a month, which is, it's awesome. That's before joining the program. Obviously, we had our struggles and we hadn't really come close to that. So that's a really, great achievement, I guess. And we've been consistently hitting 5 figures for 2022, which I'm really happy about. And I just want to see it, take the next step basically from now. So, obviously it was a long journey getting to this point. We've been through a lot in the growth phase. But previous to this, we were doing, the traditional SMA style. And it was, moving into the e-com space that really allowed us to become more scalable, learning how to onboard team members, find the right team members. And that's really kind of what got us to these 5 figures.
I think one of the keys that you mentioned there is 5 figures consistently, right? Because that's really where the profits and that's really where the game is when it comes to an agency. Because sure, you can hit 10K per month, 1 month, but if your clients leave you, if you have no way of like keeping your clients for at least a good amount of time, right? A lot of people, I feel like they get, I've seen this with my own eyes, right? They get to like 10K, they tell their family, friends about it, like they move to a nice apartment and boom, they're back to square one, right? So I think, and I will be diving deep into, how you keep those clients and how you optimize for client retention. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about what you were currently doing, because you mentioned that you were doing the traditional sort of way. Let's talk a little bit about geographical limitations, some of the limitations that maybe you experienced and your experience with that.
Yeah. So when we first started, and I say we because I started this agency with my now wife. We were dating back then. We were just in the first year of our relationship, or maybe at the end of our first year. But anyway, we started going door to door to local businesses in the Gold Coast in Australia. And we were just walking in, we'd split up. She'd do one side of the street, I'd do the other side. And we'd just like walk in, then we'd come together. And then we'd be like, okay, what went wrong? What could we do better? It was, it was really probably awesome. Unusual for most relationships, but we got a couple of clients here and there. But then, I started emailing manually, writing emails, and got a couple of clients. Again, traditional SMA, we'd go in for photos and do all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I realized that email was a lot less effort than going door to door to businesses and handing out flyers and stuff. So started focusing on emails. But that's not that scalable, obviously doing it manually. I did that for a long time, honestly, until finding a program. I was still doing it manually. I don't know why I didn't look into automation software, but thankfully you showed me, the automation software to use. And that took my emailing per day from like, just a handful to like 100. So that was really fantastic. But, one of the first questions from one of our first clients was, so how are you going to scale your business? And it was it was an interesting question to receive from a potential client. Obviously, I don't know if we came across as like just kids back then or something, but I didn't have an answer to him. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to have to, run around to all these businesses, take photos and do everything myself. And that's obviously not, that's not scalable. So, being able to outsource and learning the systems to outsource to the relevant professionals who do things a lot better than you, that's changed everything. And that's now completely changed my mentality, to the point where I know what I want to focus on in the day-to-day operations with the business, with, and that's client communication and finding and getting sales, basically. That's for the majority, that's my role, and optimizing our processes on an ongoing basis. And now I'm basically always wondering, okay, who can I find, or who can I not find, but who can I onboard onto my team for the long term that I can then outsource this kind of work to when we get a new job, if it is a new kind of work, or, I'm just always looking to outsource now. And it makes much more sense. You're not wearing as many hats. The person will do it better than you, and you can scale, as you said. So it's 100%, necessary and important.
Yeah. Because technically you were an agency, but on paper you were an agency, but technically you guys were doing everything yourself, right? Like you were doing the service yourself, the shooting the pictures and all the content, right?
Yeah, 100%. And we still have aspects of that just on the side now. It's more of the side gig. We were doing everything, posting, taking photos, client communication, engaging with their social media community. We started that in Australia, and then we had to leave our jobs and we moved to Canada, and we bet on ourselves completely. We got a nice apartment, that was probably too expensive. And then we just started from scratch again, but we just totally went all in and believed in ourselves, and we made it work. But the issue was, over time, we couldn't quantify results for our clients. That, social media management is great for building brand awareness, engagement, engaging with your community and stuff. But, for a restaurant owner, and I know you've had someone else that was doing something similar, focusing on local restaurants on these calls. But you can't say, yeah, we got you this many butts and seats, it's impossible. So that was eventually would be our downfall at the end of the day, with basically all of our clients. It was like, after 6 to however many months, they'd be like, okay, cool. Yeah. Well, we don't really know what you're bringing in. So, when times get tough, we're going to save some money and, buy. So
yeah. And oftentimes it's not even your fault, right? It's just that if you cannot quantify value, chances are, when things hit the fan, for the business owner, right, they're going to look for a scapegoat. And the easiest thing to cut is the thing that does not, if you look at the P&L, like it does not technically make you money. I mean, in technically it does, right? But on paper it doesn't. And that's the first place that they're gonna look up to really cut things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they're definitely 100%.
So then you transition into the e-com space. What are some of the things that you just absolutely love about making that transition?
So, number one, I love the fact that they don't have, and maybe debatable per business, but for the most part, they don't have to have the overhead of a huge storefront. We found basically that e-com stores they have a way bigger budget typically than a brick and mortar store, especially a restaurant, which for the most part, I feel like, I don't know if I've really ran into a restaurant that's actually killing it. Previously, they were all giving us every spare dollar it felt like at the time, but that doesn't feel that way with e-com. For the most part, these are businesses that know that they actually need digital marketing otherwise, because there's no foot traffic in front of their store, unless they've built up a loyal brand following already, which is possible, or and which they likely did from digital marketing, if they did have it. Obviously not black and white, but it's the fact that they know that they need it, and also that you can quantify and actually show the results that you're bringing in. So, those are two big things that immediately make a huge difference, because that is not the case with social media management necessarily. We had so many business owners be like, well, I'm just going to get my daughter to do it now. Thank you. And it's like, oh God, that's, that's not a good feeling when you are trying to pitch yourself as a professional social media manager. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to get my daughter to do it because she can do it too. And it's like, okay. So, none of that's ever happened with the e-com. And it's because you are really diving into a more technical area that needs someone knowledgeable and has a lot of experience in what you're doing. No ordinary individual, no one's daughter or son can just jump onto the ads manager and get amazing results. It's just not how it works. So you're more, they need you more.
Right. And especially if you go down a sub niche, right, within the e-commerce space, you go from being price competitive or essentially being competitive with everyone. You're just in a, if you're doing social media management, essentially you're competitive with everyone, because if, the founder's or the business owner's daughter can do it, essentially you're competing against everyone, which means you're perfectly competitive, right? You're competing on price, you're competing on attention, you're competing on everything, on all fronts, right? Whereas when you go into e-commerce, and now all of a sudden it's all about having specific process results, having a way to a clearly defined way to make the money, having a specific sub niche, so your shit about that specific space. Then all of a sudden you go from being perfectly competitive into being a monopoly agency, and it's just a much better feeling, right? Because now you're not in a red ocean. And I think most agency owners just feel like that, right? Where it just seems like at any point anyone could just come in, cut your prices, right? Offer it to them for cheaper, and all of a sudden you're out of the picture.
Exactly. It's 100% true. And that's what we found it really hard. We actually had, when I came to you, so I was doing the ads for our clients at the time that we had, and I paid hundreds for thousands for various courses from professionals that were teaching the right way to do it, ex Facebook employees, whatever that was. And I was struggling. I'm not the A player media buyer that I really needed. So I couldn't necessarily sustain results. And it's being able to get the expert in and actually prove that we have a track record now, and that we are specific to our sub niche, which is fashion. And I can explain a bit more why fashion later, but it's a game changer. It makes it totally different. You're separating yourself from the crowd. It's extremely important to be able to do.
That's a great point. And you've hit on some really good points, because no matter, right, how much you learn about Facebook ads from various different courses, it's just not going to be field experience, right? And so someone who has the knowledge, but then goes out there on the field and actually implements that and has been executing that for the past 8-10 years is obviously going to be a much better candidate. So there's people that just love Facebook ads, right? So why not bring them into our team?
Hated it. Right. I hated doing it myself.
What are some of the trades that you found because I'm not sure if you went through a bunch of media buyers. Did you, or did you just find like the perfect day player from day one?
I was fortunate. I still work with the first guy that I found. And, I did what you said. We found, we got 60 applications, whittled down into our specific 30 or however many, and then went through that interview process. That was invaluable, really learning that interview process. The processes were great. So I was fortunate. I found my A player, at least who I believe to be, and is proving that he is. So until he doesn't, then, but he's doing a great job. And I did have one bad experience with, it's weird. It was with someone that I really thought was an A player as well, but it just turned out that, it took them like 24 hours to get back to me with messages on Slack. And, fortunately I cut the cord there pretty early. But yeah, I'm working with my same guy, and, we've been doing a good job. He's really on top of it with communication. And that's what I found to be extremely important. So now when I'm looking for additional team members for other roles, can you communicate very quickly? I need quick responses. I can't wait 6 hours for a response, stuff like that. So yeah, I was fortunate, but it's so important to make sure that, you don't settle until you found your key team member. Always be hiring. Always, if you have good people, if there's a good person for you, try and find a role, keep them there, because as you grow, you will need them. And it's hard to find really genuinely good people.
100%, man. And people don't understand, right? Because people may have looked at the hiring process that we go through, right? And they might have been like, oh, that's too much work, right? Yet look at you, right? Having stayed with pretty much the same guy for close to a year or maybe even more, right? Like that is invaluable. Imagine hiring fast, which is what most people do, then having to essentially hire more people. Like at the end of the day, you end up spending on, almost 10x more, right? And not only that, but the massive opportunity cost and the cost to clients of not having the right team member, right? So it really pays dividends to take that time at the beginning to hire slow, right? To really have an effective hiring process, to make sure that you have that person, because once you get the A player, the process just becomes much more effortless.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Exactly. Hirings, it shouldn't be easy, really. You have to, use your judgmental skills and also the pre-designed process that you're putting them through to try and, find a great person, but it's 100% worth it. And otherwise you'll end up wasting your time with so many bad people. You'll lose a lot of clients because you haven't hired the right person. Yeah, it's worth putting the time in. There's no doubt about it.
You mentioned that communication was massive for you as a key trait of that A player. Are there anything else, any other traits that maybe even a little bit unconventional, but that you've really valued in the person that you have now, and that you will certainly look for, or that you looked for in that hiring process?
For sure, yeah. I mean, so communication, as you mentioned, it's near the top. I think that they really need to have a desire to be a problem solver. There's always steps that you can take to improve what we are doing. And, I want people on my team that don't rely on me to always be the problem solver. Obviously, I want people with a collaborative kind of mentality towards these things. So, of course, it's a team, and it's okay to lean on each other. It's okay for your media buyer to ask you questions and lean on you a little bit. And I want them to feel okay doing that. And I'll do the same. So if we can just have, a collaborative approach together, a team member that, again, it really also comes again back to communication, but a collaborative approach to problem solving. And if they can also take the initiative themselves to, dive into it first and maybe come to me with recommendations. Being a problem solver, if they see an opportunity to get better results, that means they're actually in the trenches every day, looking at what we are doing and being like, okay, we need this kind of creative, or, this kind of copy, or whatever they need. I want them to be always prioritizing and looking at it and being analytical about it every single day. So, and also one area that I hadn't necessarily thought of at the time was, some people have a really great ability to get inside of the customer's head of a specific brand. So my media buyer was very fortunate. He actually told me about himself, about this part in our interviews, is that he's really great at getting inside the buyer's mind, or the customer's just mindset. So again, that's probably one reason why he's successful at what he does, is that it saves us a lot of time, because I can really quickly give him information or a brand, and he can go in and he can be like, okay, we need this, this, and this. He's got, and that's where experience really becomes valuable, because I feel like that oftentimes, and nothing's black and white, but that really comes from time in the game. He's been in the game for 10 plus years, done so many different projects and different niches. He knows what works and what doesn't. And that isn't to say that, things aren't evolving and new things could work and stuff like that, but he's got that knowledge. So, 100%, you need someone that has more experience than you, if you kind of knew, obviously, but, problem solving and just, taking initiative and just, being able to get inside the head of potential buyers for your client's niche is just super important. Yeah.
Great points. Great points there. Speaking of niches, you went down the apparel and fashion, correct? Niche?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the benefits that you saw by narrowing down into a specific sub niche, as opposed to trying to tackle the whole e-com space, which is what most people try to do.
Yeah. So obviously you need to, as we discussed, you need stuff from the competition. Number one, getting down into a sub niche, it allows you to do just that. You can, if you decide to create your agency website and stuff around that sub niche, and that's great, that separates you. That's one way you can do it. But it tells the client that, that their area of business, like if they're in fashion, or if they're in, whatever that might be, and they will know their industry. So it's important that their industry as well. Most agencies that they speak to, and this is something I hear, it's like every single demo call that I get on, it's that, I receive 50 emails or however much emails from agencies a day. But for some reason, I decided to book a call with you for whatever reason. And one of those reasons could be because, I mentioned that we have a specific focus in the fashion and apparel industry. So that means it will communicate to them that you probably have more knowledge on this than the typical agency that is just talking to everyone. And secondly, it will also allow you to, and there's probably more benefits, but it will also allow you to charge probably more what you're worth. If you can, when you get the question, what separates you from all the other agencies I contact, being able to say, well, I specialize in exactly what you were doing,
Easy.
It's a pretty big leg up. Exactly. And then it will, again, also allow you to charge more, 100%. And they will see it as worth it. They'll be like, yeah, okay, I'm going to invest in someone that specializes in this. So that was really the biggest thing. I tried to do that with the SMA with restaurants. We specialize in working with restaurants, but it only goes so far, really.
Yeah. Because you're in the wrong vehicle at the end of the day, right? So like,
exactly,
that shitty vehicle can only go so fast. But did you see that it just got easier and easier as you started, because the first client is obviously the one that builds momentum, right? But one of the great things about being in a sub niche, I'm not sure if you experienced this, right? But you signed your first apparel client, and then that just gives you so much leverage to sign other brands in that space. Did you ever experience that, where it just became so much easier after that first client because you were in that sub niche?
Yeah. So it became easier for me to speak to brands about their sub niche. Maybe say that it's not necessarily, I would say, it hasn't necessarily gotten easier to sign a client. It still takes substantial communication and effort. And although we have now a bit of a roster of apparel and fashion clients, we can use them for references. We can use them for case studies. So yeah, 100%. It's easier when you have evidence that you've been able to accumulate behind you, and then actually show that to prospective brands. Reach out to these people, or, here's this case study that we wrote about the results we were able to bring in. So 100%, to cut to the chase, that it gets easier, but it still takes, substantial effort in terms of communicating, speaking to them on their calls and learning about their brand and, following up and all that. It's the snowball effect, though, it can't really be denied. Me and my partner, my wife, she says, just even hopping on phone calls, even if, you have, 15 or however many calls in a week, again, obviously it takes time, might take a few months to close a client, whatever. But even if nothing necessarily comes out of this week of phone calls, just during this week, you're moving energy. You're still moving energy. You're getting out there. Something's happening. Someone knows your name. You're getting more experience talking to more brands, and even just from that perspective, the moving energy perspective, it gets easier. I love the quote, the best time to get a win, I don't know, I'm totally paraphrasing, but the best time to get a win is right after another win, right? So, I try and carry momentum in from previous calls or whatever it might be, and use that momentum. I think taking advantage of the momentum, if you have any, is really important. So there are a lot of little aspects that make it easier. But yeah, you still obviously need to keep putting that effort in, keep, analyzing what you're doing. I know you're a big advocate for recording, the phone calls that you have with your clients, and analyzing where you got better. So there's a lot of different aspects that it gets easier from, but the process generally remains the same. You still might have to get on 2 or 3, however many phone calls with potential clients, and share as much value as you can. But yeah, being in the sub niche that you also are familiar with, or at least have an interest in, is very important as well, for sure.
Because in terms of how your day is structured, you've obviously got most of the service completely delegated to a team member, and your partner's still working with you, right?
No.
Or okay.
Close. Yeah. So, so basically, she got pregnant. We want to start a family. Thank you. At the time, she was doing a lot of like video editing, graphic design work. She was also communicating with clients. And so she was a big part of it. And I think that, when we were like, okay, well, we'd like to, move forward in our life, we want to start a family and all this stuff, it was like, okay, well, obviously, you're going to have to take a step back from this stuff. So that was actually when I got in touch with you, because so as you said at the start, you get your 10K a month and then you're like, great, job well done. And then you kind of sit back, and that was my worst flaw. I would reach out to clients with emails, or I'd get some traction and I'd just kind of stop for some reason. I don't really know why. I just get comfortable, and I was aware of it as well. I was aware of what I was doing. But anyway, at this time, we had like a 10K month earlier in the year. We were feeling fantastic. And then we went into like literally the worst months we've had ever. And it was just like, it was very stressful. So on top of trying to start a family.
Tends to happen. When you hit that milestone that you had in mind, it's very easy to get complacent. I mean, it's happened to me. It happens to most entrepreneurs. And that is why it's important to have, and I've also learned from that mistake, right? But it's important to have a plan of attack in place after you hit that milestone, right? Because the easiest thing is just to get complacent. There's, I don't know, something weird that happens in our brain, right? Where we go, okay, cool, that's it. Like I can cross that out. I can cross that milestone out, and then you just get complacent.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you're aware of it, it's hard to not fall into that trap. But yeah,
how'd you get out of it?
So fortunately, it was like peak COVID. So we had, clients struggling. Again, we couldn't prove what we were doing was actually doing anything because we were doing SMA. But it was extremely stressful times trying to start a family and having terrible months of business. So that was when, I was like, okay, look, I got to stop trying to teach myself how to be the freelancer here. I have to find, or even taking like a general business education course. Like I was following Tai Lopez for like years and years and years, and all these people. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but and so I started looking up specific programs on like SMA, EMA stuff. I like to look for the basics of the basics. How to run. Even though I'd been doing it for years, I still felt like I didn't really like. I felt like I was really just a freelancer, but I looked up, specifically how to do an SMA or an EMA, whatever, in 2022 or 2021 at the time. And your video popped up, and it was like an hour-long slideshow, basically, of you explaining all of these things. And you kind of just tore apart what I was doing. And it was like, okay, fantastic. This is exactly what I was looking for. And, people, I'm 29. So you're a bit younger than me. And I know a lot of people have inferiority complexes of all sorts. And a lot of people, if I say, if I was to say how old you were that when I was learning from you, they'd be like, oh, really? Wow. Don't want to learn from a 40-year-old billionaire or something. I don't know. Yeah, right. And it's like, well, no, because they will have no idea what I'm trying to do here. They don't know. They're not up to date. They're like probably an older CEO. And not to say that they don't have any value, they definitely do, but in what I was trying to do. So that was a really eye-opening YouTube video. And I basically scheduled a call with you, and we hopped on a call, and the program then showed me systems and everything that I was totally missing out on. I don't know, sometimes there's people that like yourself that can just figure these things out quickly. I don't know what it is, or whatever it might be, but I didn't get there necessarily. Or if I hadn't maybe found that video or your program, who knows how long it would have taken me to learn to automate emails, even though that's a seemingly basic thing to progress to from manual writing. But fortunately, I found your program and you, and I got to learn those processes. And it was one of the more valuable things for me, for sure, was really those processes that I was just totally missing. The hiring process, the communication, just learning about how to create processes and implement processes was probably hands down the most valuable thing. And I felt like once I took that, it was just like, bang, I could just power forward again, because I suddenly had things helping me and working for me while I wasn't. And that's how I got out of it, and that's how we've consistently now been able to do 5-figure months. We have a car, a house, we have animals. we have all kinds of things. So, 5 figures is great, but at the end of the day, when you have all of these expenses, and we tend to live in an pricey town here. It's like a tourist town, just outside of Banff. So
Canada is expensive, right?
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Even just food is expensive out here and stuff. So at the end of the day, we need this agency to take the next step. We need to bring in even more than just getting into 10K plus. We need it to be 20 plus at the end of the day. And we're on our way. Every year there's been a progression. There's been a leap of some sort in terms of revenue and knowledge. And I hope to continue that. This year is no different. We've taken a big leap, and that's great. We'll be in the 6 figures this year overall in terms of revenue, which is awesome. And it was hands down, if I was to narrow in on it, it's really those processes that I learned from your program.
Mm-hmm. I think a key thing that I've also learned that you mentioned is, I think it's when you hit those lows that the best is really the best time to invest into yourself, because oftentimes you don't know what you don't know, right? And so oftentimes when people are at those low moments, they think that you should only invest into yourself when you're like hyped up and at a great spot. But like those are the times where someone, I don't know, giving you a little insight or someone showing you a different way, it not only gives you tangible strategies that you can implement, but it lights a different type of fire and a different type of fuel, right? And I always feel that when I invest into my businesses, it just creates this like newfound excitement, right? And that alone, right, on top of obviously the strategies and the things that you learn, that alone is like so worth it, right? Because it gives you a new almost outlook on life and in business. Totally.
And you don't lose that, once you've expanded, you can't go back. You've learned things that you now know. You've experienced things that you now know how to handle better. And there's no going back from, and so you're totally right. That low point, that super low point that was like full of anxiety and stress, it was like a trampoline, just like, it rebound off the bottom. And you start taking action, because that's the only way out. At the end of the day, you can either just get super depressed or curl up in a ball in the corner, or it's okay to do that for 5-10 minutes, but at the end of the day, you have to get up and you got to figure it out. And the best way 100% is to, if you haven't yet, or if you have, find another person that is doing something what you want to do successfully, and go learn from them. Even if you got to take out a loan of some sort or whatever it might be, you've got to go through it. The only way is through. The obstacle is the way.
Love it, brother. I wanna ask you a little bit about, if you're open to sharing, I want to ask to a crazy of questions, but I want to talk a little bit about your personal life, because I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are thinking about marriage, who are thinking about like, how am I going to scale a business, or how am I going to structure my life in a way where I can raise a family and do all these different things. So I want to first of all, massive congrats on the marriage. I told you before the video, but massive congrats, huge milestone. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about how you found, I don't know, maybe some like cool strategies, cool hacks. Tell us a little bit about like some of the things that you found from someone who's been through a relationship, who's built a business during an intense relationship, right, that has blossomed into marriage. So tell us a little bit about that, if you can.
Yeah. So the only way this is possible is really because of just having good communication. And it's not that we necessarily started out having great communication. It's been an ongoing process. But that's really the backbone of it. I read this great book back in the day. It was called Crucial Conversations. And if anyone hasn't read it, go check it out. But they really share a great process, and you don't need to follow that process. You can just take a couple of things from it. Most of the book is a bit of fluff, in my opinion. You can really just kind of skip to the highlights, but verbally sharing, just like verbally saying exactly what your goal is, and saying, look, this is my goal. It could be in the heat of the moment. It can be at the start, preferably at the start before anything gets. But if you can identify and just verbalize what you want to achieve from a conversation or from anything to the other person, and align on that first and foremost, then that will go a long way to helping you. Because oftentimes a lot of arguments that happen, or a lot of conversations that happen, or it's just wasting time because they didn't need to happen. They really didn't. 9 out of 10 times, arguments or conflicts of any kind with business partners, or oftentimes there's some sort of misunderstanding. And you guys may not even realize that there is a misunderstanding, even just in the perspective that you were looking at a certain situation through. So verbalizing something, something important, or your goal, or how you're looking at it, and just saying, wait, look, this is how I'm seeing it, or tell me how you are. We even have an agreement about how we handled conversations about this. It's okay. And of course, sometimes, you don't, again, nothing's black and white. You don't need to do everything the same way forever, but it's easier oftentimes for, seek first to understand, then be understood. So it's like, okay, one of us needs to at least make the, decision here to understand first. Otherwise we're both just going to be like trying to get each other to understand. And when you both are trying to get each other to understand, but you're both trying to, right? It just doesn't work. You need someone to be like, yes, I hear you, right? But when you're both in that place, neither of you are doing that. You're just trying to get the other person to. So anyway, that's a prevalent kind of, issue in a lot of conversations with, where, again, friends, business partners, whoever you have a conflict in. But it's really about stating your goal, first and foremost, and having a mutual understanding that you share the same goal to come out of this discussion. That's been huge. That's been huge for us. And it's been interesting because throughout building this agency together and learning how to communicate better and all these things, it's really a daily process. You need to be conscious. You need to be conscious of yourself and aware of yourself and how you are acting and everything. You need to really be aware of it. It's interesting because you can understand how other things just go pear-shaped who don't have these communication skills down. You can understand how marriages or partnerships go sideways because one person might be at home taking care of the family, the other person might be out at work, whether that's the man or the woman. But then you come together and you're both like, yo, I'm doing so much work, and there's no effort to understand each other or where each other come from. There's only a desire to be understood yourself at all costs, even if it means having a huge argument. You need to be understood first, and it's just like, that needs to not, you need to step back, stop, breathe. And I think being in this business together, she totally understands what I'm doing. It's fortunate because I don't need to explain, what I've done or what I'm doing, or, and obviously I do, but I don't need to explain like, why what I'm doing is hard, or like, she already understands that I'm putting in effort, I'm working every day, and I totally understand the exact same for her. We understand each other's position. We're around each other basically every single day, all day. It's crazy. Most people would not be able to do it like probably how we do, but you just got to find what works for you. But it centers around communication, as I said, and just clearly identifying your goal, having a mutual understanding and agreement, and just sometimes choosing to be the person that understands first and hears first. And that's, same for her. Sometimes she does that for me. And just being a team, first and foremost. I was going to say that, finding a supportive partner is one of the most important things to your success. And and of course, there are people who have done it alone, a lot of people, and that's 100% fine. But I think that it's a lot easier. It can be a lot easier at the very least when you have a supportive partner. And it doesn't mean they have to work with you, but if you can foster, an understanding, a mutual respect for what each other gets done in a day, whether you are even at home taking care of the family or doing things, and they're at work, or the other way around, there needs to be a mutual respect standing. There needs to be respect for what each other's doing and their role, because at the end of the day, again, whichever way it is around, if that other person is not taking care of what they are doing, or you are not, whether it be at home or in work or whatever, then you or them, I'm trying to be as even here, then, but that's what allows you to do what you're doing. The fact that you have that team member taking care of the other stuff that you are not doing, and vice versa. So, it's really respect, and communicating and all that good stuff. But yeah, that wasn't a bit of a rambly response.
No, that was great. I think there's some really great points. I mean, and also quite tangible as well, right? Let's wrap it up with this question that's a little bit more technical, but I think the audience is also going to benefit a lot from, which is the concept of upsells and cross sells. You've had a bunch of boom posts on the community. Maybe I'll post them around the screen. But the other day you messaged me on IG, and you told me that upsells had been like a game changer for you. So if you can, I don't know, briefly just talk about the concept of upsells and how you've used them for your agency to scale at a, with lower complexity.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously we have our primary core service and core offer, and right now that would be digital marketing. But it's been so important for us to get over the 5 figures in terms of revenue on a monthly basis, the upsells, because essentially, like, we don't have any startup fees or anything like that. And again, just like you preach in your program, let's not waste any time here. We don't need to take 2 weeks or a month to onboard someone or to get up and running or to charge them outrageous fees. But instead of maybe charging them a startup fee, why not, find something that is very beneficial, that they most likely need, that most likely everyone needs, which I've learned just through doing this process. But, you can substantially increase your revenue through upsells. So, for example, we were running ads for a fashion client in the States that, but their website was super slow. And we were looking at Google Analytics, and their bounce rate was very high, which means people likely are not even landing on their website. They're maybe not even waiting for their website to load. Their sales conversion rate needed improvement. I don't think it was even at 1%, or it was maybe close to 1%, which, is pretty average, which means, so I explained to them, okay, look, we need to improve the performance of the website. It's the bounce rate's high. We're wasting a lot of ad spend because people aren't even making it to the page, and your conversion rate's suffering. So as long as you can provide, like, you are the expert, you have expert recommendations as such. And if you can recommend something and provide valid reasoning behind why this is necessary and how it will benefit them, then most times, unless they are really broke, they will go for it because they trust you and they believe in what you have to say. That's why they're working with you. They trust you. You convince them to be like, okay, this person or this agency could be or will be the answer for our problems. So you already have their trust. Once you have their trust, once they're a client of yours, you really should have certain upsells that will, one, actually help you deliver better results, because that will help them be a client for longer. And if you have performance incentives in place, it will help you increase your revenue as well. But two, again, you have their trust. It is super, super easy to sell to someone that already trusts you. So it's so important to have upsells and additional services, like you called it in your program, a hybrid agency, to capitalize on that. Otherwise, you are really missing out. So for us, optimizing the performance of people's websites has become a core. It's like the number one thing. 9 out of 10 times, even more than 9 out of 10 times, people's websites truly suck. They are slow. They are ugly. And, I won't say it to them as bluntly as that, but I will tell them the consequence that they are currently experiencing, that they are not aware of these issues. So I say, look, and it's almost like a 100% success rate with this upsell, but optimizing the performance of their website has become key. So now every time basically someone starts with us, it's like, look, unless their website's already doing really great for them, which it usually isn't, is let's get on top of fixing these issues. I would recommend, we can move forward with our advertising, but it will be inhibited by these issues, and you'll spend more and get less. And so it's been so important. SEO we've recently added in, which is really great. That's a medium, obviously, to long-term strategy, and it's lower cost. It doesn't require any of that ad budget. That's a big one. At the end of the day, if you can start getting even stacking up, because obviously you've got your core offer, which should bring you, a good little net profit on a monthly basis. But if you can then add in your little upsells here and there, it's like adding the fries on, before you know it, it's can double your revenue every month somehow. It just adds up.
So incredibly true. And I think such an understated strategy, because not only does it make you more money, right? But even just mentioning to them that, just essentially them seeing that you're aware of other components of the funnel, that inherently builds trust, right? And so not only do they pay you for the service, but they go, oh, this person actually understands and is looking out for our interest, and is looking at other different components, not just what he is supposed to be doing, which is just paid ads, right? And so it just builds a lot more trust, and it increases the switching cost, meaning it makes it way harder for them to leave you, because now you're doing so much for them, right? Like you're such a pivotal part of their e-com growth.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you can, otherwise they're going to have to work with another agency as well as you. Why would you want that? You don't want that. If you can have everything under one roof for them, that they will be super happy about it, because you also have better communicating probably than the other agency. And secondly, it means you have control over more things. So yeah, it makes them harder to leave, but it also should yield better results for everything as a whole, since you can overview basically everything. Right. Everyone go figure out your upsells and test them and figure them out. It's super important. If there was some things I would like to mention on here for the people watching before we wrap this up, is I would say, try not to get caught up in the short-term fluctuations. It's like being a trader versus an investor. Be an investor, try not to get caught up. It's still an ongoing battle for me. I still have days where I'm just like, you have a mini freak out or whatever, for whatever reason, your heart starts racing. You need to take a minute to sit down and just, take some slow breaths, for whatever reason it might be. And that's 100% normal. But, same with negative thoughts. The difference between the people that it takes down and the people that it absolutely annihilates a whole day of work or several days or a week is the people that don't give it attention. We all have negative thoughts and or down days, but the key is you need to practice literally, and it's like a muscle, not giving it attention. Just don't give it attention. You need to not entertain it, because it's bullshit. I don't know if we can swear on this video, but sorry about that. No. But you need to develop, a mental health game plan, as I call it. Whether that's getting into the gym or going for walks outside in nature, or doing breath work or whatever it might be. Super important. So that will help you get into your body first of all, and out of your head, because this is a really heady thing to have to do, especially if you're on calls with clients all the time. It's very so I walk out of calls sometimes, it's just like, whoa, all my energy is just all up in my head right now, and I need to get to the gym, or I need to go for a run or something. Take care of yourself first. That's something I would like to share. Don't get up in the morning and run to the computer, do some breath work, do meditation, something that nourishes you first before starting your day. And do
you have some musts yourself that you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, I try to do them on a daily basis. I actually have them in my Notion here, but basically I try to do breath work every day. There's a great app, it's called Othership. Check it out. It's just a different type of meditation. At the end of the day, you got to do what works for you. If you prefer sitting quiet, staring at a wall, do that. I like to do that sometimes too. But breath work 100%. I try and do some form of mobility work or physical activity every day. I'm not doing where I try to get in the gym and do weight training at least 3 times a week, 3 to 4 times. But on the off days, don't just do an off day and sit on the couch with your computer. Actually do some mobility stuff, work on your mobility, flexibility, get out for walks. These things are super important. I think that, getting again out of your head and into your body every day will help you with your self-awareness. And also just don't entertain the limiting beliefs and the negativity that will inevitably be there sometimes, whether you feel like it's a constant cloud hanging over you, which I do sometimes, times. And I realized that that's just because I keep entertaining it. Like, it's as simple as that. Stop entertaining it, recognize when you are and stop entertaining. Get an abundance journal if you need. I did that for a little bit. I should still doing it. It was just honestly probably a lack of having grown the habit enough why I stopped. But as soon as I did that, I realized, holy shit. And I swore again, sorry, but I am
so good, man.
I actually have a lot of wins most days, just like if you might lose a client because of bad results or for whatever reason, inevitably we will lose clients at some point for whatever reason. It's just a initiation that you have to go through. You will also, don't freak out. You will also gain a random client probably from a referral, or people know your name. If you've been moving energy, like I said, people tend to, just like the universe has a tendency to balance out. You might lose a client, but you might gain an unexpected client. And you just need to literally have trust that will happen, because it will. And, I like to think of being an entrepreneur and your business, it's like an extension of yourself. It will only grow as much as you are willing to grow yourself as a person. So, if you're listening to this and being like, whatever, I'm going to keep, being negative, it doesn't make a difference, blah, 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 whatever. I don't need to go to the gym or meditate or, have a mental health game plan or whatever. It's, you need to grow yourself. Otherwise your business will not grow, because it will expose all of your flaws 100%. So you have to be ready for that. And if you're at the start of your journey, start to anticipate your flaws to be exposed, because it will expose them. And just expect that. And so when it happens, don't get mad. Just, you're like, I expected this, and this is now the time that I need to take action on it. I've been talking for a while now, but the last thing I'll say, and I have a meeting in 7 minutes because I foolishly didn't have a buffer on the end of my calendar. So it's just it was like, this ends at 10 and my next meeting starts at 10. But confidence comes from planning and preparation. So I used to like to, test myself and just do things on the fly. I called them mini risks. I don't know why the hell I did. I was just lazy. But, confidence comes from planning and preparation. I was nervous about this call. I'd looked at the previous calls. I looked at the lady before who you spoke to, and I can't remember her name. She did fantastic. And she shared so much great information. And then I was just sitting here how am I going to follow that? So I just wrote down some notes, just some key points about, what I've been doing, what I did. And literally 5 minutes later, I felt so much better about everything. So I'll leave it with that.
Listen, brother, you've done an amazing job, man. Super valuable. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And as I'm sure everyone is going to enjoy it. And yeah, I want to acknowledge you, man, because it's been an absolute pleasure being your mentor. And I'm super happy for obviously your business success, but also your personal success. Is not easy to grow a relationship and then grow a business as well. So I want to acknowledge you for that, man.
Thank you.
And for showing up today with amazing energy. And I can't wait to see you crush it, get into those 20, 30, 50K months.
Yep, that's the goal. And, I appreciate you for creating that course and, putting so much effort into it. You can see from day one how much time and mental just energy and focus went into creating that course. Because I think about, you always think about, yourself, you think about, okay, what would that have looked like if I had created that? And it's that would have created a ton, that would have been so much work and focus and effort and thinking about each individual thing you wanted to include in it, and all the resources as well, just the documents that walk you through everything. So, for someone that's, in their early 20s, thank you for doing that and putting your knowledge out there, and putting in all of that effort, because it's helped, a lot of people, and significantly helped, our business. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. All right. That is a wrap. I'll let you go, man. But thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you.
All right, there you have it, my interview with Jeremy. I hope you enjoyed his story of going from a freelancer to now being an agency owner, growing a family, getting married. Incredible dude. And also hopefully you're enjoying these student interviews that I'm throwing on the channel. If you haven't watched the past interviews, I strongly recommend them because they're very, very juicy. And the final thing is, if you want to catch live trainings that I'm not doing anywhere else, exclusively on my free Facebook mastermind, okay, it is completely free. I'm going live in there with my team as well, pretty much every single day. So it's an incredible community. There's going to be a link in the description. You just have to click the link. There's going to be a bunch of questions there for you to fill in. And if you're a good fit, we'll let you in. With that being said, I will see you on the next video. Peace.